Bitcoin is like at 81, and you're looking at what I regard as being the single worst moment in this decline was the moment between 3:30 and 4:30, and then Williams comes on, and then suddenly everything's fine. I don't think so.
4 years for the last decade, Bitcoin has had a big negative year, and guess what? 2026, it's scheduled to have a big negative year. So now what investors have been doing is pre-positioning for this bearish move. And Thanksgiving is such a funny time because literally Thanksgiving of 2017 is when Bitcoin came to a lot of people's attention. And so this is a funny time to think about it, but we have probably peaked in October and have a year of a bear market.
You X'd out or tweeted out that you thought that you were itching to come on, by the way. Hopefully you're not actually itching, you know what I mean? Go see somebody about that. But that you wanted to come on because of that. So what you're suggesting, what you're saying, not suggesting, you're saying it, is that this idea that because next year is likely going to be a tougher year for Bitcoin, some of the selling that we're seeing is just people getting ahead of that?
Yes. Look, this has happened. It's a 4-year cycle. Now, every cycle is different. What's obvious to everybody is that Bitcoin has gone up less this cycle, and so there's many people think it'll go down less in the correction. But that's just sort of one of the fundamentals. Now, there's something else going on within the Bitcoin community that kind of non-crypto people need to know about. And that is ultimately, Van Eck has been around before Bitcoin. We will walk away from Bitcoin if we think the thesis is fundamentally broken. We don't right now. But you always have to look at the underlying technology. And the Bitcoin community has been asking itself about, is there enough encryption in Bitcoin? Because quantum computing is coming. And then secondly, is there enough privacy in Bitcoin? And so a lot of Bitcoin OGs or maxis have been looking at Zcash.
What's that?
Zcash is a token that's sort of related to Bitcoin with a lot more privacy. Because the kind of garbage that we got about Bitcoin 4 years ago is it's like used for all bad illicit behavior, but now everyone kind of realizes when you move money around on the Bitcoin blockchain, you can see it. You can see it move from one wallet to another, and a lot of people are looking for more privacy.
Seeing a crypto sell-off, Bitcoin falling below $90,000. And obviously, this is a volatile asset. Anything can happen before the end of the year. But what do you think is the main driver behind the current sell-off in Bitcoin?
I think there have been 15 hard drawdowns over the last 15 years. I think we're overdue for one. This is just natural deleveraging of the asset. It happens every 6 months to a year. I've lived through 5 big ones since 2020.
This week, you announced a sizable buy, but for weeks, you have been making these purchases, but not as large as this one. So generally speaking, what is the strategy behind when you decide to strike and buy more Bitcoin?
Well, our business is in the business of issuing digital credit. So we create credit backed by Bitcoin and we sell that credit. So last week, we sold about $130 million worth of treasury credit in the form of Stretch, STRC. And then we sold a European credit instrument called Stream, STRE. And that was about a $700 million issuance. So those credit instruments pay dividends. They could be 10% dividends at par. They're powered by Bitcoin over time. The credit investors are buying the credit. We take the capital that we acquire from selling the credit. We buy Bitcoin with it. So our Bitcoin buys are really driven by the credit markets.
To Stephen Nelson, he asked about your comment calling the president a fascist. And your answer was, both President Trump and I have been clear about our positions and our views. Are you affirming that you think President Trump is a fascist?
I've spoken about...
That's okay. You can just say yes. Okay. It's easier. It's easier than explaining it. I don't mind.
Mr. President, I wanted to ask you...
Protesters.
Jack?
Mr. President, I want to know one of the policies as well that Mayor-elect Mondami talked a number of times about on the campaign was shifting the tax burden for property taxes from what he called minority communities to white-based communities and putting more taxes on white people. I also noticed that in your acceptance speech, you didn't mention anything about America or Christians or white people in general. And so I didn't know if that was one of the policies that you guys had spoken about.
We focused on affordability. We focused on the cost of living crisis. What I will say is that I am very much interested in property tax reform, because what we see right now in New York City is a system that is so inequitable that it can't even stand up in court. And the president and I spoke about the importance of not only building more housing, but also making sure that regulation of housing is something that is manageable to actually get through and not the cause of yet another weight that we see in our
But to
city.
be clear, you're continuing this idea of race-based property taxes.
No, to be very clear,
That's what you said.
no, the use of the term was a description of neighborhoods, not a description of intent.
So you intend to tax the whiter neighborhoods more?
No, we intend to create a fair property tax system because we want a New York City that is not only fair and equitable, but also one that every New Yorker can afford.
And we're going to be helping him to make everybody's dream come true, having a strong and very safe New York. And congratulations, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you.
I appreciate it.
Please. I met with a man who's a very rational person. I met with a man who really wants to see New York be great again. And I can say again, because New York was great. You know, when I came down to Washington initially, the city was so hot. It was doing great. We were having some telltale signs of problems. We had a mayor that was not doing a great job, but still, it was moving along. And it went bad. It really went, pretty bad. And I think it's been at lower points, but it went pretty bad. I think he can bring it back. Now, the question is, will he bring it back all the way? Will he bring it back greater than ever before, which is, I guarantee, that's his wish. I think he wants to make it greater than ever before. And if he can, we'll be out there cheering. I'll be cheering for him.
Welcome to the Crypto Teacher. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. And I come back with that video just to make you think. And make sure you join the Patrons. If you're not a part of the Patrons, make sure you're hitting the Cash App. Also, go like and follow the TikTok. More videos to come. And we have Jim Cramer giving the signal for the bottom. And we know the Fed is about to step in. And we have Van Eck talking about the 4-year cycle. Says we probably peaked in October. And again, the Fed is coming in. I'm not your financial advisor, not financial advice. Please do your own research. And he says something very interesting. He stated that he will walk away from Bitcoin. And what was that, guys? That's right, the Hegelian dialectic. Says he doesn't see any reason right now, but made the statement. And that means he didn't have any reason to say it in the first place. But then also talked about Bitcoin not having any privacy. Remember, guys, Bitcoin used too much energy. Now its privacy brings up Zcash and talks about privacy. Now, we definitely know privacy is going to be the new goal in the 4th Industrial Revolution. But Zcash ran up too fast, too quickly, and we know it was going to come back and retrace. But Zcash and Monero are definitely going to be important in the 4th Industrial Revolution, but that doesn't have anything to do with Bitcoin. Remember, in Bitcoin, we can see there's real money and big bank real money. Yes, Bitcoin was used to push the narrative, but don't forget, guys, these robots need a checking account. And if Bitcoin is going to be tied to these robots, Bitcoin would be the new gold. And remember, the Crypto Teacher told you. Now, we had Michael Saylor says we're overdue for deleveraging after they made a big purchase. And the fact is, he has the big banks behind him, so money means nothing. And if Michael Saylor is making a big purchase like that, of course, we know money is going to follow them. And we know for a fact they got wrecked. And if Bitcoin was to stay around that $80,000 range, we know that that would put pressure on Michael Saylor's strategy. Even though I don't see that happening right now just because the Fed is stepping in. But I told you, that NAV is eventually going to flip and is not going to end well. And remember, the Crypto Teacher told you. Now we have Trump with Mom Donnie, and the movie is just beginning. Anytime you have the mayor show up with the actual president, and remember, guys, The D.C. mayor has probably been in office since 2015, and we don't see her too much. But all you have to do is go to Eric Adams and see what he's been doing, and you know why. We know who controls New York City. And remember, the crypto teacher told you. Now we have Congressman Mark Warner on CNBC speaking on AI reporting since jobs will be lost. And we're not getting any AI regulation when it comes to the states for a reason, because they want this AI build out to run wild. And once it put everybody out of work, then they're going to try to bring in regulation. We've already seen this movie before. And that's the reason why I tell you, get back to the creator, so therefore you can start creating. All these jobs that we have now, majority of them are not going to exist, or they definitely are going to change. And remember, the crypto teacher told you. And then we have the Fed. Are they going to cut, or they're not going to cut? Remember, guys, it's only 25 basis points that the media is making a big deal out of. But the fact is that the bond market is just not reacting. Even though the Fed cut, yield rates went right back up. Now we see inflation is close to 4%, and then we have unemployment a little over 4%. So if the Fed cuts again, but the bond market doesn't react, that means the rate cuts won't mean anything. And that's the only tool that the Fed has. And don't forget, Japan hasn't even gotten started yet. So that means there's going to be a big crisis inside the United States. High inflation, job loss, and then, of course, they have the solution, which are the machines. You cause a problem, wait for the reaction, and run in with the solution that they had ready 10, 20 years ago. And remember, the crypto teacher told you, because he knows. When it comes to the NWO, it's all planned out. You have a wonderful day.
Well, the concern is we know AI is going to transform the economy. It's going to eliminate a lot of jobs. It's also going to create some jobs downstream. What we're trying to get at is just some good data. As companies eliminate jobs through AI, they ought to report that. And what I'm particularly concerned about is not so much the elimination, but the fact that entry-level jobs may very quickly disappear. We're already at 9% recent college graduate unemployment. I think that number will go to 25% very shortly. That will have effect not only on those folks getting out of college without a job directly, but their parents who probably finance that education. And one of the things I've been going to the AI community and saying, guys, I will buy that there'll be new AI jobs created, but it may be a 5-year gap. Help us figure out in the interim, and help pay, by the way, in the interim, for how we do this kind of training for jobs that are AI-centric. And I really want to put it to the AI guys to be part of this, but it all starts with data.
That's what I was getting at, this idea that you report it and then do what? But your plan is you are going to charge who for the training on this? The AI guys.
What I'm saying is this. I'm saying we can go down all of the AI entities who will acknowledge, many of them acknowledge this level of job dislocation. They will say, as everybody on the show says, government will screw it up. Well, I'd say, you're right. Well, last time we did a massive job retraining program in the early 90s with Trade Assistance Act, it didn't work. But let's go to the AI community and say, work with us. And frankly, let's put in place this retraining program so that as AI jobs come about, we don't have this level of, particularly coming out of college, job loss. I already know all the big banks are cutting their internship programs. Their hiring's in half. They intend to cut again next year. And my feeling is if we eliminate that front end of the pipeline, how are people ever going to get to that mid-career spot?
Okay. Would you go after the big banks if they are not, like you mentioned the big banks and said that they are cutting their internship programs. If the big banks and some of the other big companies are doing that, do you think they should also contribute to training?
Here's the question. It begs the question around about everything with AI. If there is any contribution, does it come from the entity that uses the AI, the big bank or any large corporate? Does it come from the large language model? Does it come from the people who provide the chips that are the bullets? Those were at the front end of this. But the idea that this kind of transformation, which is going to happen so quickly, it's accelerating at an extraordinary pace. And I'm not an AI doom scroller. I think AI is going to bring a lot of benefit. But through this period of disruption, I do not think we can simply sit back and say business as usual.
What we've seen so far in the yield curve is that while the Fed is cutting short-term interest rates, long-term interest rates are not going down. We're seeing that in Europe as well. So yeah, maybe we get that extra rate cut, but if the 10-year yield is not falling, somebody who's looking to buy a house is still not getting any relief.
And we saw in the UMich data today that inflation expectations are at 4.5%. Look, if I were on the Fed, I would cut, but I would cut not on the basis of the current state of the economy, but on a strategic view of the economy. I think that AI and other innovations, robotics, life sciences, are going to contribute to a significant increase in productivity. The speed limit for this economy is going to go up. There will be employment issues to deal with. So if you look at whether you have the ability to cut, is yes. Whether you have the willingness, it should be yes, because the labor market is weak. So if I was there, I would cut. But I started by saying it's about a strategic vision. This Fed has not taken a strategic vision. It has been overly data dependent. And that's why they're in the mess they're in right now.
Going to a different economy. And we're going to be learning more about that as we go. But clearly, we're learning that things can be done from remote locations. We're learning that technology can replace people even more than we thought.
We're not going back to the same economy. We're recovering, but to a different economy, and it'll be one that is more leveraged to technology. And I worry that that is going to make it even more difficult than it was for many workers.
In Silicon Valley, and my friends who work in technology know that what we did to the manufacturing workers, we are now going to do to the retail workers, the call center workers, the fast food workers, the truck drivers, and then even bookkeepers, accountants, insurance agents, lawyers, and on through the economy. So what happened to the manufacturing workers is a very clear sign.
And so we'll import Chinese-based CBDC technology. So it's going to be CBDC in a box provided to you by the People's Bank of China.
But every stock, every bond, every currency, every commodity, every piece of art, every private business, every piece of real estate will eventually be a token on a blockchain, an entry on a ledger, permanent and immutable. We will have truth instead of trust, and we will save over $7 trillion a year. 6 to 8% of global GDP is wasted by the friction of the trust industry that's necessary when you have dual entry accounting. With triple entry accounting, which is what a blockchain is, we get rid of all of that friction. It's a beautiful future.
Like what you see in China and their social credit scoring systems, right? If we get identity wrong, it could be a tool to enslave humanity. And if we get it right, it could be a tool to liberate humanity. And as an American, I'm obviously rooting for the one that's on the side of freedom.
Bitcoin is an international asset. And also, I do believe the role of crypto is it's digitizing gold.
I actually believe this technology is going to be very important. Look at it. We have been part of the huge revolution in investing through ETFs. We believe that ETFs will be changing the whole way we invest. Many people still use it as a means, people are investing it for indexing. No, the majority of people who are putting money in in ETFs are active investors that are buying exposure. The entire bond market is being transformed as we talk right now. I believe the next generation for markets, the next generation for securities will be tokenization of securities. And if we could have that distributed ledger that we know every beneficial owner, every beneficial seller, we all have our code of who's buying, who's selling, instantaneous settlement. And think about it, it changes the whole ecosystem.
Chinese bank ICBC has been hit by a ransomware attack, and the U.S. Treasury market, as a result of that, has been disrupted. This, according to the Financial Times. We're getting at more right now with Bloomberg's Shonali Bassick. Shonali, what do we know?
Listen, we have the Financial Times now reporting that ICBC, one of China's largest banks here, was hit with a ransomware attack. And remember, they're a very significant intermediary in the Treasury market. The SIFMA has told its members that this has been part of the reason here that the system is kind of clogged up, if you will, during that auction that we saw a little bit before. The attack had prevented ICBC, according to the Financial Times, from settling Treasury trades on behalf of other market participants. A large executive at a major bank also telling the paper that such a large party on the fixed income clearing corp creates major concerns, potentially impacting the liquidity of Treasury markets. Now,
it was not just a poor auction. It was absolutely lousy. And you know, when the dealers have to step in to save a Treasury auction, that's a rare occurrence. And
Cryptoteacher and the new World Order book, plus the 3 kids books. It's time to re-educate. Also, if new to cryptos, Coinbase, Bitrue, Binance, do not forget book links and crypto links are in the description. The stock channel, guys. Don't forget to go like, subscribe, spread everywhere. You have your Kobo, your chip stocks, your banking, your gaming. While everybody's sitting at home, get home stocks, the Seaver, the biotech stocks. And while everybody's at home wishing, they were still getting that free money. What are they doing? Drinking and smoking weed. Don't forget about those stocks, and you have a wonderful day. The most powerful person in the world is the storyteller. The storyteller sets the vision, values, and agenda of an entire generation to come. Steve Jobs. And guys, you know I truly believe in this. When you look at the New World Order, they're the storytellers. And that's the reason why I wrote my New World Order book. But guys, now it's time to change the current generation. And I wrote 3 kids books. You know I love the Trinity because I understand the power that's in it. So I have 3 books. We have an opportunity to change the generation, to educate, not just me, but I want to show you that I take action on a daily basis. And I want you to take action on a daily basis. Whether it's your job, whether it's in your community, we have an opportunity right now to educate the masses. I posted this on my Twitter account. Please share, but this is a short clip of the 3 books. There's going to be a clothing line and action figures. Please get these books for your kids, nephews, cousins, friends, so therefore we can start the re-education now. Because as we see, the 4th Industrial Revolution foundation is definitely here. Robots, algorithms, drones, taking humanity out the picture. We have to re-educate. But let's get into the video.
Part 1. King Joshua and Drama Team save the village. Part 2. King Joshua and Drama Team save New York from COVID stories 3. Part 3. King Joshua and Drama Team goes to China.
It's mandatory to get part 1, part 2, and part 3 of this series. It's time to re-educate Generation Z.